left stranded. We're continuing to keep a very close eye on flights that have been grounded now. The Civil Aviation Authority has grounded both those airlines indefinitely. It's amid some safety concerns they've had over the past few weeks. Let's get the situation now at two of the major airports this morning. First of all, reporter Heidi Giokos at OR Tambo International Airport and Lindsay Dentlinger with the latest from Cape Town International. Lindsay, hello to you. We spoke to you earlier. Let me just bring Joburg quickly into the picture as well. Heidi Giokos, hello to you. So over the weekend, Heidi, I saw you reporting from there. A lot of people very upset trying to get back home after a weekend away. I imagine this morning it's the business people that are going to be really upset and frustrated.
Yes, certainly, Gareth, but I think the message has gone to all passengers to say that flights have been suspended. Kulula and British Airways flights have been suspended. I'm going to ask my colleague Teddy to just show you how completely empty it is here at the Kulula check-in counters. British Airways, the same kind of picture. What's interesting, though, is that you have boards saying all flights cancelled and operations to resume midday. And the reason for this is because yesterday, the CEO of Comair had told ENCA that they were expecting flights to resume by midday yesterday. But of course, the Civil Aviation Authority is the deciding body. As the regulator, they decide whether or not the airline is able to decide whether or not the airline is safe to fly. I'm also going to ask my colleague Teddy to just show you how busy the airport is. We have seen other check-in counters, the same kind of picture. So this is the Airlink check-in counters, and yesterday was the same issue with other airlines seeing an influx of passengers because people are now trying to get onto any available flights they can get onto because of the suspension of Kulula and British Airways. Of course, passengers have expressed to us that the prices have skyrocketed since the suspension of Kulula and British Airways flights, saying that this is actually unacceptable because passengers are so desperate now to get to their various destinations, and it becomes very difficult when prices have increased by 2,000–3,000 rand. I have an update, though, Gareth, from the Civil Aviation Authority. They have told us that they have reviewed the evidence that has been submitted to them by Comair up until the evening yesterday, and they are now awaiting the airline to come back to them with outstanding information. And this is going to be critical and key for Comair to provide the necessary documentation and evidence to the Civil Aviation Authority to then allow them to make the decision as to whether or not they are safe to get back into the skies again.
So, Heidi Giokos, for the moment, I think passengers will get any information that they possibly can. Really appreciate that update. Heidi Giokos for us at OR Tambo International Airport. Lindsay Dentlinger, Heidi showing us a Kulula board saying flights to resume at midday. Clearly that's not the case, and it's obviously not going to be a very different picture down in Cape Town at your international airport either, is it?
No, Gareth, and since we last spoke, many of the passengers we saw sitting here behind me just from these very closed Kulula desks. I will show you over there. People still desperately been standing here since 5 a.m. this morning, hoping to see those offices open up because they're so frustrated by how long they've been kept on the line with call centres. They say they only received one SMS telling them not to come to the airport, and so they're really desperate to hear about what the alternatives are. We saw informally two ground staff from Kulula explaining to people that they're highly unlikely that there are going to be any form of charter flights for them out of Cape Town today. And as Heidi mentioned there, the alternatives 3,000–4,000 rand more than you would ordinarily pay for a flight out of Cape Town. And even if you did have the extra money to dole out, I understand that most of these flights are already booked out, and so the frustration really here today is passengers saying not enough communication coming from Kulula as to what the alternatives are. And some of those passengers I spoke to earlier, as you know, there was the Cape Town cycle tour yesterday, so the city has been more packed over this past weekend than it would ordinarily be. Some people I spoke to earlier have now resorted to renting vehicles and to drive back to Johannesburg. joking that their bicycles that they had put on alternative transport on the back of trucks are likely to arrive in Johannesburg before they do, if they are to sit it out and wait here until Thursday or Wednesday when they might get a flight out of Cape Town, Gareth.
And Heidi Giokos, let me come back to you just briefly, because you gave us an update from CAA just a moment ago. Many people are wondering, apart from an update from the CAA, any word from the Transport Ministry, from Kulula and Kulula? Are we expecting any briefings?
Not that I know of, Gareth, but I think it's an important question that you ask, because this is actually quite a huge story and development, because the reason why Kulula and British Airways, the reason why their flights have been suspended, there are huge security risks at play here, and we do understand that there was an engine failure on one of the flights in February and one again in March, last week Monday. One of the Kulula flights taking off from Lanseria Airport had to be rerouted here to OR Tambo International Airport because of an engine failure. And we do understand that the Civil Aviation Authority is trying to investigate and has found findings, 3 findings on level 1, which poses an immediate safety risk. One of those findings have been cleared, but they're still looking at 2 of those findings, which is on level 1, and then a level 2, which needs to be cleared within 7 days. And this all becomes very technical, but for passengers and viewers watching, when I engaged with the Civil Aviation Authority, they have expressed that this is all got to do with safety concerns and safety risk measures. So if Kulula and British Airways had to take off without the Civil Aviation Authority intervening and suspending flights, they were not sure whether or not that flight would land safely, and you cannot have that scenario. They have not had any crashes or any huge concerns with airplanes taking off in the last 3 decades. So they need to make sure that all measures are in place. So I definitely think that there should be some kind of intervention from the Transport Ministry just to make sure that the aircraft are safe, all safety risk measures are in place, because passengers are extremely panicked now, even though the ComAir CEO did tell ENCA yesterday that there is no need to panic, as they are investigating. It's all new aircraft, it's new engines, but people are, of course, a bit skeptical, because you've had 2 engine failures in less than 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's of course a great cause for concern as well. Never mind the inconvenience and the extra cost as well. To both Heidi Giokos at OR Tambo and Lindsay Dentlinger down in Cape Town. You can see closed Kulula counters behind Lindsay. You can see a very big queue, but not for Kulula, behind Heidi Giokos. That's for SAA Airlink. That's the latest, what's happening with the 2 big airports around the country. Of course, we'll